Drug companies are feeling the pain, with investors turning their backs as the costs of developing new medicines rise and their ability to innovate falls ever further behind. Since the middle of the 20th century, there have been remarkable advances in scientific understanding, from DNA to Dolly the sheep. But the return for every $1 billion spent on the research and development of new medicines has fallen ever lower.
The cost of this R&D is extremely expensive. As you know, it can cost over $1 billion to go through all the failures and the successes in the clinical trials to bring medicines to market. So it's a tough equation. You know, there's a very expensive investment. You're looking to solve very complex illnesses and diseases. You've got the science to do it today, which is encouraging. So I think going forward, one of our challenges will be more innovative ways to do our clinicals, to prove our medicines and prove their safety profiles and so forth.
It's not only manufacturing, but more and more basic research and testing of experimental drugs in patients that's moving away from its historical base in Europe and North America. Lower costs, growing talent, and fast expanding markets are luring the pharmaceutical industry into developing countries like China and India.
I personally believe that in the next 5-6 years it's not going to be dramatic. I believe that the focus is still going to be in Europe and in the US. In 10 years the balance will have shifted a little bit because also the whole size of the markets will have shifted. So we see more of a maybe even contribution of the three different parties, US, Europe, rest of the world. But I believe at the end of the day, quality is what's the decisive factor, and we will invest where we get the best quality.
This week, the British government unveiled ambitious policies designed to stem the tide and reinvigorate the UK's traditionally strong role in medical research, drug development and clinical care.
But the most crucial, the most fundamental thing we're doing is opening up the NHS to new ideas. Because time and again we've heard the same thing from industry. We've got the treatments that work, we've proved they're safe, they've been approved, but we cannot get them into the NHS. Now this is happening with a whole host of drugs and treatments. It is a massive missed opportunity. And in so many ways, I believe it's actually out of kilter with the whole spirit of the NHS. Because this is an organisation that has actually, over the years, thrived on innovation. This is the best of the NHS, resourceful and creative. Now we've got to take the best of the NHS to remedy the worst of it, where it is bureaucratic and slow to take up new ideas.
One example of innovation in the NHS is the Alzheimer'S brain scanning programme in South London.
So what we're looking at here is a scan of an individual, and our computer programme compares it to a database of more than 1,200 subjects. And what we're trying to do is to distinguish the normal age-related tissue loss that we all get once we hit 40, for example towards the top of the brain here, from those specific signature Alzheimer's disease.
Making this sort of individual data more widely available offers potential to lower costs and speed up the launch of new treatments for the patients of the future.
It's very important that we are aware of the imperative to have anonymised data, but potentially this could help clinical trials, it could help important scientific discoveries come earlier, and that leads through into benefits to patients and their carers and relatives.
Many say it will be a huge challenge for Britain's National Health Service to give greater priority to innovation in the development and uptake of new treatments.
Well, it's a major change in culture, I agree with you. I'm sure that's what the government wants to achieve. It's a big challenge to make it happen. We've got to have a National Health Service which is much more receptive to the sort of clinical research and clinical development of getting from our brilliant basic research into man and making sure that those drugs are developed in this country. And it's much easier at the moment for drug companies to take the research and develop it elsewhere.
It's not the first time that politicians have pledged to boost innovation in the life sciences in Britain. The government's made a good start this week with fresh promises. The question is whether the NHS can meet those goals at a time it's coming under so many other pressures. Andrew Jack, Financial Times, London.